two reasons that men find it so difficult to commit, or at least the two reasons I think are most important, are that firstly, in the modern day and age, there's so many options at our disposal. Especially with technology, you can just download an app and instantly realize that even when you start to meet someone and start to build a connection, there is someone else around that you can at least try to build a better connection with. And the second reason is that I think many men feel unaccomplished in their life. And there's this sort of an inbuilt idea that we need to achieve something for ourselves first before we can settle down. Now, the thing we achieve is going to vary person by person and also culture by culture. So it could be career related, where we feel like we need to reach a certain position or perhaps build up a certain level of wealth. But it could also be related to the amount of women that we're with, where we feel like we don't want to settle down unless we've managed to experience a lot of different people. A lot of men want to travel and see the world first. There's so many different things that we want to experience, and it's very difficult to settle down when we've got that idea deeply embedded within us that we need to accomplish something first. So these, I think, are reasons that are really commonplace across many different men. The reason I'm thinking about this is because I'm in Los Angeles right now. I used to live here 6 years ago, and as I'm here, I'm of course reflecting on my past. I was 35 years old back then, and I felt really unaccomplished at the time. I met a number of amazing people and even started to date. And as I'm looking back and reflecting, I can see so clearly that the problem was not the women that I was with. The problem was me, and it was where I was at in life. So I've been thinking about catching up with these women and thinking, God, if only they could have done something differently, could things have turned out differently? So as I've been going on this hike today, I've been thinking that through. So I want to share advice with you if you're one of these women that feel like you've got a man like I was 35 years ago in your life right now. And the first thing that I would say to these women back then, first of all, is to just accept the reality of the situation. These ideas are so deeply embedded in the men of today that we need to go out and achieve something first, that it's very difficult to get through to the man and to try to change his mind through some sort of a rational dialogue. So the first thing I think that's important to do is to just accept the reality of the situation. The second thing that I think is really important is to prioritize yourself. I think there's a trap to focus so much on the man in this situation, to try to connect with him and solve his problems for him. So it could be that you recognize that he really does want to achieve certain things and you think, well, that's okay. I just need to join forces with him and help him achieve those things. That, of course, there's a wonderful side to that, which is that we're helping each other achieve our goals. And I think that those relationships are the best kinds of relationships. The problem isn't so much the fact these goals haven't been achieved. I think that rather it's an inner psychological state that the man is in, and codependency can easily emerge when you try to solve his problems for him. So instead, I think it's really important to prioritize yourself in this situation and spend time with yourself, understand yourself, and just detach somewhat from the man as he's going through this, as he struggles to commit. The third thing to do is to understand your own value. So you bring a lot to the table. You don't need to be there to solve the man's problems for him. You're already an amazing person, and I think that you deserve a lot better than this. That is something that I would love to say to these women from my past, and actually I think that they knew that, and that's why they didn't chase at the time. Of course, it was complicated, and we went through some experiences together, and we didn't just end up getting to the point where she stopped giving a shit. But rather, it took a period of time, but she did end up understanding her own worth, and she understood that she deserved a lot better and ended up with someone else. And there was actually a couple of people that I was in this situation with. So that would be the thing I would just love to say, is to understand your value, understand that you do deserve a lot better, and you do deserve to be with a man who is ready to commit. So this brings me to the fourth thing, which is to ask the right questions. So I think it's important to just respect the man that's in this place. These are very deep internal psychological needs that we all go through. We're all on some kind of hero's journey where we do want to accomplish things in life. If you are in that situation, it's very important to ask really good questions. So if you are someone that does want to settle down and not just wait for the man to be ready, you can ask questions that could be as simple as, how do you see a relationship in your life right now? Do you see yourself being ready soon for a relationship? What do you want from your future? Do you see yourself sharing your future with someone else? What do you feel like you need to have achieved before you can really settle down? So these are just some pretty common sense questions that through communication we can get to know each other and come to a deeper understanding of where each other's at, and that'll help you to make a much better decision about whether this man is worth sticking around with. And the final thing is to ask yourself, can you move forward together with this man right now based on what's actually going on? Now, it sounds like I'm saying, based on the previous questions, that if a man is not ready to commit, you just need to cut the cord and move on. But I think it's important to recognize that life is not so clear-cut like that. Things are kind of messy and complicated. We don't exist in a fixed emotional state. We often develop concepts of who we are. We develop a story of what's going on in our lives, but that story is very fluid. I learned this from my participation in Out of the Box, which is the online course by Huda Yande. And that's where you can understand the story that shapes who you are, the way you've been living life to this point. I think that many modern day men get trapped in the story of needing to accomplish something first. We fall into the trap of thinking that we need some sort of security before we can become vulnerable in a relationship. I think that many men go through a process where it's not about the achievement of goals that results in us being ready for relationships, but we actually let go of that story that we've been telling ourselves about what we need to get to first. So the question is, are you with someone who's quite open-minded, who's willing to listen, willing to learn with you? You may not even be in such a clear-cut state yourself where you're absolutely sure that you're ready to commit. I think there's something beautiful and really beautifully vulnerable about joining up with someone when two people are just not quite sure, but they're both willing to give it a shot. So if you feel like there's at least the potential there, then I think it's worth persevering, worth giving a shot. What I suggest that you do is check out Huda Yande's free masterclass on the art of love and intimacy. There's a link in the description below. There's a really powerful exercise in that masterclass on how to prioritize yourself. Because one of the central messages of that masterclass is that the relationship you've got with yourself is a direct mirror of the relationship that you've got with other people. So if you feel like you're stuck in something a bit complicated, if you're with someone who's just struggling to commit, then definitely prioritize yourself as you go about figuring out what's going on. I hope this has been useful to you.